Hello and welcome back to Leeds United, where Champions League action for you. We're into the knockout stages, and first up, having bypassed the first knockout round due to excellent group stage work, Manchester City are our reward for that. Does feel somewhat unfair. Of course, there's also no games played since last episode, and spoilers if you haven't watched that because the result's on screen right now. Look away. And with that in mind, there's nothing to get you caught up on, of course. PSG Real Madrid, another massive tie as well in the background. Man United with the advantage over Wolfsburg, Milan having to chase Juventus for their particular round of 16 leg. These round of 16 matches have all been quite spread out. There's 4 matches that are already completely completed at this stage too. And for this tie against Manchester City, first leg, good news is we have just enough first team players to fill the entire 12-man bench for this competition. Don't need to dip into the reserves or unders for this one. And most notably, the return of Livramento from injury here. Good for 75, could possibly start him, but we'll just leave him for the time being. Same issue with Moukoko, who's weirdly available for less time despite being back first. It does mean Götzschling is going to start. Albanoz is unregistered for this competition, as is Patrick Bamford now, because I needed to get Valeri in. And I figured we could probably get away with having one less striker registered because of the presence of Joe Linton, who can cover both midfield and up front if necessary. Also figured, I don't know how many more seasons we're going to have to do with this. I'm going to get Götzschling a face. Before you ask, that's a creation of my own. There's no way of getting that. It's not part of a pack that's available elsewhere. I did say he wasn't developing as quickly as I'd like, but there are up arrows, at least, on his attributes. Most notably, pace, which is what I am specifically training. You can't see it behind my head, but most notably, pace is what I'm trying to get up here. Quickness, still worth a lot of money. Just to negate another potential incoming question, I like keeping new gens as cutouts, just so they stand out against the regular face pack, because obviously new gens in the game look different to the original players in the base game. I like to keep that going even when I'm using custom things. Just makes them easier to find. But for this first leg, do I stick with Cresswell or do I put Verissimo in? Verissimo has a much better overall rating, so Verissimo in. He now likes Undika, by the way. They get on now, but Karnasecki in goal, Undika, Verissimo, Milenkovic, Valeri, Adams, Szoboszlai, Armada, Götzschling, Pedro and Milovanovic up front. Now, we are away at Manchester City, so do we go with the 3 across the middle, or do we go with Adams as the defensive midfielder? I think we play slightly more securely and do that. It's exactly the same system in terms of instructions and all that jazz, so we are away at one of the bigger boys. Their full team is remarkably Man City, quite frankly. Rico Lewis has found his first team place 4 years in the future. The only real addition is Kai Havertz. Their bench does appear to be full of young players, though. A lot of people with numbers in the 40s, including Phil Foden, of course, who has it naturally. But Curtis Jones on their bench is the curious one. Calvin Phillips, of course, former Leeds player, still on their bench. He's the kind of player that I expected to have moved on by now. He's one of those players, because they don't play that often in the FM engine, find moves relatively quickly, is what I thought he'd be. But Valeri, corner, Undika, Edison, ridiculously good save, Szoboszlai, open net, goal. You love to see it. And within 2 minutes at the Etihad, it's 1-0 Leeds. Good. Away goals don't matter. Goals just matter. It's a great save by... Oh no, it actually wasn't a save by Edison. He hit the post. The angle deceived, and Szoboszlai's, now quite frankly, famous leathering of a ball continues. He does quite enjoy lashing one in. De Bruyne, always dangerous. Haaland, of course, always dangerous too, but that's bypassed him. Haaland just staring down Karnasecki as he rolls it out to Milenkovic, which is not the instructions. Armada. Actually, it might be, now I think about it. Valeri. I'm just remembering Karnasecki has short kicks, I think, or long throws to re-engage counter-attacks. João Pedro has scored. It sort of immediately went to the review, so I'm not massively... It is a goal. I mean, it's a great goal. I think that's an assist by Valeri as well, which is always nice. I'm going to see it with lines because I'm still not 100% confident this is going to be ruled out or not. He is onside. Good. I think he hit that with the outside of his left boot as well. Lovely technique. Milovanovic to Milenkovic. Verissimo. Adams. Verissimo. Undika. Valeri. Finds João Pedro again. He's tackled. That's Haaland through because defenders don't know how to move. Haaland's missed, remarkably. I'd like to think that was the match engine balancing out the ridiculous acceleration difference between Haaland and Verissimo there. But João Pedro has also beaten their defensive line, so, you know, it does work both ways. Edison, good save. We're playing unbelievably well here. Valeri, on the corner. Valeri's corners aren't spectacular, but they are competent enough for me to sort of put him as second duty to Skov, even though Skov is second duty to Valeri in the normal team sheet. Julian Ord probably will get moved on in the summer, but Ord can play midfield, oddly. And Milan have actually had their comeback against Juventus. It's now all square and aggregate there, if my memory serves. That's being played around Haaland somewhat dangerously, and I don't like it. Adams has been booked, but that's kind of the... Oh, that pass is horrible, and Haaland, I think, is offside here, but he might not be. He's not even being referred, so he must have been a lot more onside than he looked. Oh, I think Ndicka, who was off the screen at the time, I mean, it's ridiculous how he ended up with the ball again, but that's FM23 for you. I think Ndicka had played him on there. He was off screen on the original angle. Actually, it's not Ndicka who that line was measured against. I think that was a case of the match engine not accurately reporting where the players were, as it is prone to do at times. Ndicka was positively chuffed with the halftime team talk. I love the fact that's a thing in the engine. Rodri has gone from distance. It's actually come off someone, but Havertz is offside, and apparently that matters in that particular instance. Carlos says he plays it short to Verissimo. Adam plays it to Almada. Gottschling on this right-hand side. Holds it up, back to Milenkovic. All the way back to my goalkeeper, so the first part of this highlight was entirely worthless almost. Ndicka, probably out to Valeri on the left, if it can actually get to him. He does, Szoboszlai. João Pedro's not been a great run there, but he's come back off someone and back to Dominic. And we sort of build again here a little bit. Oh, that's a lovely ball to Armada, and oh, that's superb if that had gone through to Milovanovic, but alas it didn't, and now it's actually Haaland attacking, and I don't like this. He's found Grealish, Gottschling's tackled him, but they've got the ball back again, so now Haaland's in the middle of the pitch again. How's that happened? Did he teleport? Again, he did seem behind my defenders, but I'm not 100% confident. This one was offside. He just drifts inwards, he was miles off. That's what it felt like in the moment, but I was deceived last time. I guess I praise at this stage, do I not? 2-1 away from home at the Etihad. Tell Tyler Adams to mark Erling Haaland, their striker. Not sure that's Tyler Adams' job. Gets out of that particular pickle there. Two players bearing down on him. Valeri now released to a degree. João Pedro running into a kind of the corner, but it's got to Szoboszlai, and he's smacked it in again. I swear to God, Szoboszlai does not know how to do finesse, and I don't care. I will take a good old thrashing of the ball any day of the week over a careful finesse in situations such as this. Just hoof it towards the goalkeeper and hope it's too fast for him to get the hand on properly. And Szoboszlai with 2 goals in a game again. Laporte at the back post over. Nice, that's fine. Nice quick highlight. Adams. And if this is the one game where we sort of get our return on XG that we've missed over the course of the season, I'll happily take it. Because I do realise we have scored 3 goals from an XG of less than 1. But there's been so many games where we've scored less than ours, so it all evens out in the end. João Pedro bearing down on goal. That's, I think, deflected into Ederson's hands, but it was the highlight, and Milan actually have completed the full turnaround there. They are now up on aggregate, I believe, as PSG taking advantage on Real Madrid. Dominic, 8.52 goals, can't take him off, he's on a hat-trick. Meanwhile, there are red card issues here. Fortunately, Andre Santos is the only other player who can play defensive midfield for me. It's quite annoying. Uninor can play wing-back and left-back and central midfield, but not defensive midfield, oddly. What are we on, 70 minutes? Awar is injured, it's worth saying. Forgot to highlight that. It does make the 3 midfielder versions of this somewhat awkward because I now only have 4 available to me. In a weird move, I'm going to bring Ord on for Almada, because I think he might actually be competent as a roaming playmaker. Foden to put this ball in. Curtis Jones, I guess that was in the middle of the box going for that. Bernardo Silva's been left entirely alone, and Karnaseci's, well, put it out for another corner, but Verissimo gets there first. 77 minutes on the clock. Milovanovic's not best game. Eddie Nketiah. I think we just do Skull for Valeri. I don't think we faff around too much there. Just freshen up our other wing-back position. And Dominic is just going to have to run himself into the ground. We won't play him against Forest in between Milenkovic, Verissimo, Andre Santos. Back to Verissimo. Ndicka was moved into Nketiah, and he's just passed it to Kyle Walker. I'd say he's colourblind, but we play in white. And Curtis Jones has found his way through here. Missed, but it was kind of nonsense how it ended up at his feet in the first place. A lot of highlights in this first game, but 3-1 away from home is an absolute world-class performance from us. Skov releases Dominic for his hat-trick, and this is why I left him on. Good for Dominic. Good for him. He's been on the thumbnails this season, and boy is he repaying me for that decision, after Melier mugged me off last season. Left halfway through, but felt too awkward to take him off those thumbnails. But yep, there we are. Pops another one through, and it's 4-1. Completing his hat-trick, and somewhat making my decision to keep him on justified. I know Pep doesn't care about hat-tricks, he'd have taken him off. But then again, Pep's not manager of... Oh god, they've scored. Phil Foden. It couldn't have been easier, frankly, that one. Aggregate score back to 2, I guess. This is just nonsensically easy. It's what I mean, once again, it's because the central defender steps up. when they should be the one standing off. There's not a lot you can do about that. That's just the match engine being useless as always. 4-2 from an XG of 1. That must be Ederson's worst game for Manchester City ever, quite frankly. How does Dominic not get a 10 for that? Statistics just popped up here. Milovanovic, 72% shots on target. 72. Like, he's beating out defenders who don't get that many. So that must be like corner headers. Yeah, Tino's potential is unfortunately capped a lot lower seemingly this year than it was before, which is a bit of a shame at right back, but that's why we got Gottschling in, whose potential is obviously at least 4 stars. Oh, I genuinely hadn't noticed the updated SAS skin had a brand new page. So I guess the intention is to use these statistics and measure them against the ones that are on this page. So you can see here that Tino's progressive passes per 90 minutes is 7.3 and the average for the Big 5 leagues is 4.19. So he's actually above the elite level of progressive passes per 90. Not fully certain what rating means, but in this instance, interceptions under average for the Big 5, and you can see that here actually for the Premier League as a whole. Weirdly tackles doesn't. Oh, it's creative, that's why. But weirdly tackles is on none of these. Generally hadn't noticed there was a new tab there. But yeah, he's played a fair bit since arriving from Southampton. Just never spectacular, weirdly. Just noticed that Karnasecchi is inching closer to being worth 20 million almost. We're getting there. He's almost worth more than Joe Linton. Considering how much we got Dominic for, the fact he's now worth 60 odd million is incredible business from us. It'll essentially be full rotation against Forest. I'll bring you the result, but Gottschling remains and Adams remains just purely because they can't play against Manchester City in the next part of this. Actually, Gottschling can play in the next part of this. I just mean that Livermore will be fully back for that one. Elsewhere in the Premier League, though, as we play Forest, Liverpool play City later on. And we're really, really hoping City can do something there. It's also really good news for us because it means they're probably going to have to field a relatively strong team against them. Well, of course we lose to Nottingham Forest. Nonsensical game, quite frankly. Penalty and then a sending off for Charlie Cresswell in the second half. Their first goal was the classic of the FM23 cycle of just passing it straight through the middle of our defence and our defenders going, oh, he's through. Also in the process proving my point from the end of last episode about how Liverpool just get on with it and win everything and all the nonsense happens to you, the player, and not the AI. At least Liverpool didn't win, but they still got a game in hand. Oh, youth intakes happened, and we did have one elite talent, apparently. That's actually a valid point. Our potential abilities on these are now based against genuinely good players. So Jerome, not even Jerome, Jorome Bingley. It's a very Yorkshire name. Where's surname anyway? Elizabeth Bradford. Unambitious. That's what you want from a promising striker. 4 determination, 7 work rate. Oh, Jesus. Well, there's a lot of work to be had with him. And Patrick Szymanski might be competent too in the long run. But that's about it. Along with Casey Mundy, who's also viable as a striker, apparently. I will never understand why it highlights players as not their full position. When they've got a natural position, I never understand why they highlight accomplished or lower as the baseline. But also unambitious, so that's fun. I'd just like to point out, our head of youth development, personality professional. Ah, the font's back. I have no idea where we're getting unambitious from. Okay, so for the home leg of Manchester City, trying to put the disappointment of Forest behind us. Still can't believe it. Livramento steps in. Joel Linton steps in for the suspended. Adams Aouar's back from injury, though, on a returning to fitness level kind of deal, so bench for him. Meanwhile, Veresmo kicked up about wanting a new contract and is now unhappy because he wouldn't wait until the end of the season. It's March, Lucas. It's March. You can't wait 2 months. Oh yeah, we're playing the 3 midfield version rather than the DM version because we're at home, and I do not know why City's shorts have changed colour between the 2 legs. Not that it matters. Just watch that bit in silence as Livramento tried to head a ball that was never going to get to him, and City still have the ball because the person who did head the ball just headed it straight to them, as Grealish is on the inside of our defender. As always, dear defenders, please stand on the correct side of the attackers. It would help your prospects in intercepting the ball dramatically. João Cancelo finds De Bruyne, finds Havertz, and Haaland's behind our defence and scores. He's offside, I think. I'm hoping he's offside because he was about 3 yards behind our defensive line when he received the ball. Whether or not he was offside before he got that, I don't know. He was. Okay, good. It very much felt like he was... Oh, God, he just went a hair too early. But once again, the reaction times of our defenders, hilarious. Well, I guess I'd praise at this point. I think even if they score, we praise just because it's 4-3. One of the best goals. It is amusing how much space he had here. Where is my actual left back in this situation? Defending a throw-in, My left back is here, marking Nathan Ake for some inexplicable reason. He's still there. He's still there, crouched for some reason. Dear Sports Interactive, please explain to me what happened there with Valeri, because for damn sure, that's not what he's been told to do. We are now attacking, but we're not, because they've got the ball immediately. Bernardo Silva being hunted by Valeri, but not quite so effectively there. Grealish. And they're just playing around quite nicely. Haaland's broken through the back line again, because once again, the middle of the three defenders steps 2 yards ahead of everyone else and opens that gap up for them. I am so fed up of seeing that. There is nothing I can do to stop that. Milenkovic gets on the correct side of Jack Grealish for once and intercepts that ball. João Pedro into their penalty box. I'm not quite sure where we're going with this. Milanovic scores. That's where we're going with it. That was sort of came out of nowhere. I tried low crosses for a while because apparently it's quite good. I've gone back to mixed because I know Milanovic can do this from a normal cross. And as soon as I do, that's what happens. I don't understand this obsession with low crosses in this FM because it's not worked out for me. Then again, not everyone has a Milanovic. Valeri, inwards to Armada. Correct from distance? No. Yes. It's hit the post. That got a lot closer than it looked when he actually struck the ball. Heck of a whip and a curve on that. Haaland's off. In fairness, Haaland and Bernardo Silva looked absolutely knackered as Milanovic pops another one in. I think that might have been going in already. I think he might have just nicked Undicker's goal. And suddenly we're leading. After being fairly atrocious for the most of this match, we're now leading. I don't know. Might have been hitting the post. I don't know. I'm not as mad at Marco for that. I thought he had stolen a goal there, but I mean, that's terrible. João Cancelo has been dispossessed by João Pedro and repossessed by João Cancelo. And what is this ball? Sports Interactive, sort out your loose balls. I know we've scored. It's Tino Livermento's first goal for the season as building work resumes outside. I really hope you can't hear that, by the way. They decided to start doing that almost the second I started recording. Actually, yeah. We've benefited from that one. We're normally the ones conceding from that kind of nonsense, but I guess we kind of had all that nonsense in the Forest game. So once again, it's balancing out. As Real Madrid actually have turned it around against PSG, I now notice in the background 4-0 there. Blimey. A lot of our players knackered because they had to sort of do something midweek. You know what? We're going to do all three of these. Santos, Aouar and Julian Ord as a midfielder again, just filling in that gap. I might make all 5 subs actually, just because there's 5 really knackered players. Both wing-backs too. Why is he asking me to take off Kyle Walker? He's on their team. Football Manager's a fully working programme. De Bruyne, edge of the box. I'm worried because no one's actually bothering to do anything with him. He's hit the post, Foden's tapped it in. I put on specific instructions to press Kevin De Bruyne. The person pressing Kevin De Bruyne in this highlight is Marko Milanovic. I've just noticed him. From like the halfway line, Marko Milanovic comes out of bloody nowhere. But none of the actual players near Kevin De Bruyne go to press him there. We still won, and we still won on aggregate. But that genuinely might be the most frustrating win I've ever seen. Ah, cool. The outside noise has gotten louder just as we wrap this up, but I mean, that's a damn sight more than we got for the Carabao Cup win. I wonder why we hadn't had the draw. There were still 2 more games to go somehow. Stuttgart overturn Monaco and Bayern Munich deal with Villarreal. Good day for the Germans. The main shock for the UEFA Champions League round of 16 was a win for FA Cup quarter-finalist Leeds against Man City. Ignoring the fact we've won the Conference League and the Carabao Cup, FA Cup quarter-finalist is the highest prestige we've had so far. Second in the Premier League too. Obviously the next round of the Champions League will be the next episode, but just want to find out who we're playing first. But whilst we wait, if you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, subscribe. I'll do it now. Okay then. Real Madrid it is. No draw. No draw notice. It just happened. Admittedly, there's only kind of 1, maybe 2 in the form of Stuttgart and Milan. They're the only 2 that I would have been kind of happy with. The rest are all kind of annoying. I don't think outside is shutting up anytime soon, so Real Madrid next time out. I'll see you then. Thank you for watching. Ta-ra.